Alright, short video today, shouldn't take very long. So I'm going to document progression of the water effect that I use. So once again, I use this golden median soft gel gloss. So today is just kind of a quick second coat of that, second layer of that on the model. I kind of see it's starting to dry here for the most part. The first layer is starting to get pretty clear. A couple spots where it's a little thicker, it's still kind of cloudy, but for the most part that first layer is pretty dry. So all I'm going to do now is just put on a second layer of the water effect for the next day. But that way people who are following along can see how it looks after one day. So it kind of contours down to the rocks a little bit because, like I said, it does kind of shrink quite a bit as it dries. And that's why I typically do 2 to 3, at least 3 layers. So just gotta build it up. Won't take too long today. Another layer of this and that's it for the day. If anyone has any questions or comments, make sure you click through to the actual video and not the post where I just shared it to the groups. So I think when I put on the, after this layer dries, the next layer, before I do that, I always put on a little bit of a camel shade wash to kind of murky it up between the second, third, and final layer. And I think when I do that, I'm going to avoid putting any on this area where it kind of has this glow effect on the ground that I painted on there. I don't really want it to look murkier in those areas. Like the light from the Soul Wave would actually clear it up a little bit. And then after that third layer dries, all that's left to do is a final matte coat around the edge of the base on the rim to touch up anywhere where I might have gotten some of this kind of glossy looking stuff. And if anyone has any questions about the product I'm using or the methods I used for painting or whatever, feel free to throw a comment on the Facebook live stream and I'll probably see it and be able to answer. Around this reed. Try not to get too much up on it. Looks like it dried not quite straight, but there's really not much you can do about that once this dries. You might be able to bend it back just a little bit, but and then this water effect stuff will kind of support it up a bit. Soft gel. start getting it all under there. It's the largest area to hit in this model. So it went on pretty thick in some areas, which is fine. We get a choppier under here with a little more contour and wave. Actually, that looks like that's a bubble that's underneath the layers of everything, but once again, I'm not really going to care. It's just going to make the ground look, if anything, a little less flat and a little more irregular, and it's fine by me. I don't need to worry about durability under there because it's not like people are going to be poking and prodding underneath the deck. Once in a while I might come across a slightly more solidified patch of this stuff in my jar. As long as it's not too huge, I'll just throw it on there because it's just going to dry clear with everything else anyway. Probably gives it a head start on the drying, actually. Right up to that edge. The whole purpose that I use this so that I can do stuff like getting it right up to the edge and I can apply it while it's tipped and not have to worry about it running right off the base. It's this stuff, Golden Medium Soft Gel Gloss. It shrinks down and dries with a clear layer. So I put 2 or 3 layers on it with a layer of camel shade wash in between. And it kind of gives my swampy, watery kind of effect. Have some Mod Podge lying around the house and might do the same thing. I think it's probably about the same stuff. It's just like a glossy medium that dries into an acrylic layer. When I was doing my research on water effects, it was one of the things that like a large scale diorama maker was using. So it was on my list to try, but this stuff seems to work just fine for what I need to do. Let's see, that one dried really crooked. This reed here. So I'm just going to try to see if I can get it to kind of bend back using my brush a bit. Let it come back up. It's more straight anyway. Probably anything that dries clear and glossy would be fine to use for the kind of thing I'm going for. I just like how thick this stuff is so I can apply it with a brush. See a lot of people that paint their stuff and then post it up. It doesn't have any basing on it, just plain old black base with a big old slot in it. And always just looks unfinished and undone. Sometimes it's really incredibly painted too, but I just think without the base having something on it, even if it's as simple as just throw some sand on it, dry brush it, maybe a wash, done. Just makes the model look so much more finished. Still bending back. I don't know how much straight I'm gonna get this. It'll end up bothering me. Take this one and just pull that little bit off there. And I kind of have a swamp theme going on all my bases. Cryx and supporting mercenaries. What I usually do is I usually build a little bit of a lip on the front of the model using some green stuff, and then don't put the water up on there and instead just put some static grass. Very brown and yellow, kind of dead looking static grass. Very, very light green, like a pale tan green, and that usually ends up kind of looking like they're coming up out of the swamp onto the land. But in this case, there really wasn't a lot of room on the front of that model to do something like that. At least nothing I wanted to worry about. So just a little bit left here. It's a acrylic soft gel gloss. Just kind of use about 2 layers to start, and then I put a wash, like a camel shade wash on that, and then a 3rd layer, and I let it dry for 24 hours between each. It ends up drying completely clear, but sometimes it takes a little while to get that clear. Normally it starts off just a little bit cloudy, and then over a week or 3 or 4 it ends up clearing up completely. But even with a little bit of cloudy look, it's perfectly fine. Wouldn't hesitate to bring it to like a tournament or whatever, which is what I'm going to do with this model in a week after this next Saturday. Got a dark host list I'm using. Let's see if I can try it out tomorrow at game night. So I don't know if I'm going to be painting tomorrow or if I'm going to get home too late. I bought this at Michael's, just in their paint area. They have different qualities. I mean, this one has a little guide on the side of it. Transparent to opaque. This is transparent. Matte to gloss. It's gloss. Thin to thick. They do have like a thinner. This one is called soft gel because it holds soft peaks. It'll kind of settle down, but otherwise it will hold a little bit of it. They have a super thin, but I didn't want to try using that. It might as well be watery and running off the edge of the base, and then at that point I might as well be using like a realistic water from Woodland Scenics or something. And then they do have like an extra thick, a hard gel where it holds hard peaks. But I decided to go ahead and try this, and it worked out pretty well for me. So I'll let that go ahead and dry. You can kind of see the contour and the bumpiness it has. It'll shrink down a little bit, and then it'll go a little more flat than it is, but otherwise it'll keep some of that, which I like, because then when I put on the camel shade wash, there's areas that pool more than other areas. And then kind of look a little murkier in some areas than others from a kind of a stippled kind of effect, and it looks really kind of nice. I would say after 24 hours it's pretty dry. It just might not be completely clear and off-gassed entirely. And then after, it takes a week or two, like I said, to really off-gas. But, I mean, it might even be dry in 8 to 10 hours, but it does take a little bit of time, especially as thick as I end up putting it on. And these reeds still aren't standing up perfectly straight. I did my best, and wasn't perfect. But if I can bend them and let it set in with this soft gel, it will actually support it. But by the time I come back tomorrow, it'll probably be bent over again. Oh well. I'm not cutting them off. But that's pretty much it for today. So tomorrow's my game night. I might get home in time to just do a little bit of work, since it doesn't take a whole bunch to put a camel shade wash on, let that dry, and then put my final layer of this stuff on. So I can try filming it. I know I can at least take photographs of each top of each turn and kind of report it, but I don't really, I mean, I could set up a little tripod. It's just not going to capture the whole field. I have yet to figure out a way to do that in a way that doesn't suspend my phone over a table full of painted minis, which is a little daunting. So we'll see you all later.